Hi guys, so there's been an explosion of YouTube channels promoting Brexit at the moment. I'm not sure why that's the case, maybe it's because we're getting towards the end. There is this particular one which is called Westmonster, and he's a Brexiteer. He uses pro-Brexit newspapers and articles. Now, he doesn't seem to understand how trade deals work, or how trade in general works. And I don't know whether he doesn't understand or he's pretending not to understand. So in this video, I'm going to respond to some of the comments he's making about the renegotiation of a trade deal in 2030.
Harry Cole of The Sun, tweeting, something fishy. Brexit negotiators secretly haggling over fishing fudge that could see trade talks reopened in 10 years. Now, fundamentally, this point, I'm going to get into I'm going to bring all the latest on this, but this would be the opposite of a clean break from the EU.
Do you not understand that when when you operate as a country, you have relationships with other nations? You maybe work out a trade deal with them. You go along for a number of years and you see, okay, is this trade deal working out correctly? Is there something that needs to be reformed? Has our trading, what we trade in, has it changed? Has the market changed? Has society changed? Has our economy changed? Well, if it has, then maybe it's necessary to change the agreements that you had with the other side. Of course, you sit down with them and you come to a mutual agreement on that. You don't change it unilaterally. Maybe the UK wants to do that with, the internal market bill, for example, to act completely unilaterally. But generally, when you have trade with other countries, you negotiate a trade deal perhaps, and then later on you review it. It makes sense to do that.
This would be essentially agreeing a deal or some sort of fudge, and then the EU wanting to renegotiate in 2030.
But both sides renegotiate. You don't renegotiate on your own. Do you understand? If the EU said, look, this deal, we're not happy with it, can we renegotiate it? And the UK say, no, we're not going to renegotiate it, then it will not be renegotiated. If the UK say, yes, let's renegotiate it and see if we can get something better, we can improve on it, well, wouldn't that be a correct approach? I understand these people hate the EU, but let's just park the EU for a moment. Imagine you have a trade deal with China, or a trade deal with the United States, or a trade deal with Brazil. And after a number of years, you see, look, our market has changed. We're not importing the same amount of goods from Brazil or from the United States as we did 10 years ago. Wouldn't it make sense to renegotiate the deal and get maybe a better one?
Really interesting, isn't it? That this is only coming out now, with the clock running.
Well, we don't know if this is coming out now. You're just quoting someone on Twitter.
And again, it seems to me that the negotiations, they say, progress is being made, progress is being made, but it seems to go round in circles on fisheries, on dispute.
Why do you think it's going around in circles? Because there wasn't enough time. The European Union has said, if you want a trade deal, we need the time necessary to negotiate one. You can't really do a comprehensive trade deal in a very short time. If you want a good deal, it takes time.
Mechanisms on the level playing field, and then we get suggestions thrown in by the EU of renegotiation in 2030. Here's what The Sun is saying. Brexit negotiators are secret...
The Sun. Okay. If you don't know, The Sun is a pro-Brexit, pro-Tory newspaper.
...haggling over a fishing fudge that could see the EU and UK Brexit trade deal reviewed in 10 years' time, The Sun revealed.
What is the problem here? What is the problem with reviewing something? Imagine I have a Netflix subscription. This year I spend a lot of time at home. I have a Netflix subscription. After 6 months, I realized, well, I'm not actually using it. Wouldn't it make sense to review my subscription to Netflix and decide, actually, maybe it's not a good idea to have it. I'll cancel it because I don't use it. What is the problem here?
In a bid to unlock deadlocked talks, Britain offered up a review clause on any fishing agreement after 3 to 5 years. But
We don't know this is happening. This is speculation. I don't know whether this was included. You don't know whether this was included. You're going off the Sun.
Brussels wants it in 10 to 15 years. And crucially, they are demanding, the Sun report, the appraisal must be of the whole trade deal, not just fishing. Opening the door to a decade more of negotiations.
Do you not understand this is how reality works? Brexiteers seem to think that you'll have no more... Your relationship with the European Union ends in 2021. That you'll never speak with them ever again. You'll never trade with them ever again. You become a hermit nation. Not an island nation, a hermit nation. No contact with the outside world. I know some Brexiteers want to do that. I hope most don't want to do that. But you can't... Once again, guys, if you... I understand people don't like the EU. I know Brexiteers don't like the EU. Just replace the EU with Brazil, with the United States, with China, with Japan. For example, Japan. Let's say in a few years' time you say, well, look, this Japanese trade deal that we have, it's not great. Would it be a good idea or a bad idea to renegotiate it? I think it would be a good idea. For Brexiteers, I assume they would say, no, it's set in stone. We must not renegotiate it.
This is the complete and total opposite of a clean break.
These people don't understand anything. Now, I don't know if this guy is just pretending not to know. Like, what the heck? A clean break? So you don't negotiate, you don't have any trade with the European Union anymore. Is that what you mean? I think what he means is a hermit nation. He wants the UK to become a hermit nation.
Being entangled with the European Union for a decade and more to come.
Because you trade with them. Most of the trade is with the European Union. You have to have a relationship with them. Do you not understand this?
And as the Sun say, the EU could once more use access to their markets to put the squeeze on number 10 for a greater share of spoils of Britain's waters. Last night, the fishing industry chiefs urged Boris Johnson to reject the idea out of hand.
Once again, we're not going to renegotiate our deal in 10 or 15 years' time. Even if we get a better offer, we're not going to negotiate it.
One source, quoted by the Sun, is saying they still don't get it. They are still demanding 80% of the access they have now for UK waters and are sticking to that demand. Barry Dee from the National Federation of Fishermen's Organisations said, I'm sure that a 10-year deal with a link to trade would suit the EU very well, but it would not be compatible with the UK status as an independent coastal state.
These people don't understand anything about trade.
And I would expect it to be rejected if tabled. The Times with another report on this. Britain opposes EU's bid for renegotiation in 2030. Britain will resist a European Union demand for a review of a future trade, security and fishing deal in 2030.
Look, I'm not trying to be difficult here or dismiss things out of hand. The Times is another Brexit supporting newspaper. It's run by Rupert Murdoch. But even if this was true, what is the problem here? What's the problem with having a renegotiation of a trade deal? Like, once again, imagine it's not the EU. Imagine it's the United States or China. What's the problem with renegotiating a deal? Like in the Netflix analogy, I know it's a stupid analogy, but if you have an agreement, even a mobile phone contract, you have a mobile phone contract, you have an agreement with the mobile phone service provider. Doesn't it make sense to review it after a couple of months or even a year? Because maybe you can get a better deal. I really don't understand why these people have this problem. We don't want to renegotiate anything with the EU because we're surrendering something or we're giving in to something. I really don't understand how they don't understand this.
if countries such as France are unhappy with the loss of fish catch quotas. The expected demand, a further potential sticking point, as talks go to the wire over the next few weeks, would give the EU the chance to call the whole agreement into question over fisheries, throwing trade between Britain and Europe into question in 10 years. The demand posed by Michel Barnier, the EU's chief negotiator, of course, would allow the EU to trigger a renegotiation of quotas in 2030 and link any complaints over the impact of a fishing treaty to the whole agreement, ranging from trade tariffs to road haulage to all electricity connections. The unconventional, well, that's one word for it, I guess, unconventional mechanism linking fishing to all aspects of the agreement would be unprecedented. It would potentially usher in a new Brexit crisis, given the EU leverage over Britain in the...
So I don't know, like, he's quoting someone who's speculating about something else. I don't know whether anyone actually said this. I don't know whether this is the position. But I'll still go back to the main point. What is the problem with renegotiating a trade deal? Now, you're saying it's because of fish. We don't know that. But even if it were because of fish, what is the problem? There could be a benefit in renegotiating the trade deal in the future for the EU, or for the UK, or for both.
In the years to come. One diplomat quoted in the Times is saying, this is an idea on the European side to try and get a deal across the line for EU countries at the final moment. It is not yet in the draft, but probably will be. Interestingly enough, the Times also report, and I've talked about this on the channel before, Lord Frost, the British, of course, the UK's chief negotiator, has offered, and this is what the Times is saying, has offered the EU a transition period of at least 3 years to allow French, Irish, Dutch, Danish and Belgian fishing communities time to adjust to new fishing quotas after 2021. His negotiators are said to be resisting attempts to link fish to trade after a final agreement because it would allow the EU to unravel a future deal, prolonging instability and uncertainty for trade. And I'll reiterate it again. Interesting, isn't it, that this is just coming out now? The EU now seemingly pushing for this now.
You saying that the EU is doing this because you're quoting the Sun and you're quoting the Times. We don't know if that's the case. And even if it were the case that they're introducing it now, I don't believe that, because I imagine it's something that, the EU are not the type that, spring something in at the last minute. They've been very clear since the beginning. These are our red lines. This is where we're going to negotiate. This is our remit. This is the limit of where we're going to go. They're not, it's unusual. It would be extremely unusual for them to spring something at the last minute. But you seem to think that they would do that.
As the clock ticks down, with the UK not having walked away, having previously set out a 15th of October deadline. Express. Boris warned, don't sell...
The Express. Boris warned, don't sell out Britain as Brexit deal looms.
Sell out Britain as Brexit deal looms. The UK and the EU could be on the verge of a breakthrough in the Brexit talks, with sources saying the two parties are at a sensitive moment. More than 100 Tory backbenchers have been briefed by the Centre for Brexit Policy, an influential cross-party think tank, on how to determine whether the Brexit deal will fulfil the 2019 commitment and the Leave referendum promise to take back control.
To take back control? I don't know who this Centre for Brexit Policy, I imagine it's just a group of Brexiteers who don't understand anything. Take back control. Once again, I've talked about this before on the channel, how, it's a useless term. Take back control from whom? Look, this video goes on and just repeats general Brexiteer talking points, but at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with renegotiating a deal. It could benefit you, it could benefit the other side. Generally, it benefits both sides because the situation has changed. Once again, Brexiteers demonstrating that they don't understand trade, they don't understand trade deals, or they don't understand reality. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.